All right, cryptocurrency news, bearish or bullish with the war on Iraq and Iran coming in. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. I recorded this once before, so it's not going to be as informative as the previous time as it did not upload. So let's get into it. We're looking actually at Ethereum, and I want to bring up Ethereum because when I was working at a retail place, we won't describe what it is. I was telling all my colleagues for the entire 2019 into 2020 to buy Ethereum. I was probably pretty fucking annoying, actually. And when COVID happened, everybody was getting stimulus checks, right? So we had the stimulus checks being pumped out, $1,200. We had that major crash right here whenever COVID happened. I told everybody, throw your stimulus check into Ethereum. Don't buy, shoes, don't buy candy, just put it in Ethereum and wait. And lo and behold, as you can see right after COVID, which we consider COVID just like the news within the war in Iraq and Iran that's coming up, you can see that it's getting lower highs. It had that crash, tried to push up, and then had a major crash due to market news and market manipulation, COVID, all that stuff. That was just ridiculous. And when you got your stimulus check, you could be throwing it into Ethereum. If you are Indian, you got an additional stimulus check. And with that, right around here, it was around 159, 139 is whenever I was throwing my paychecks at it. And lo and behold, we had a major push up right after that bearish news, around 362% increase. So this is kind of what we're expecting to happen if Bitcoin drops with the news that's coming out if the US goes to war. So keeping that in mind, that was just that about 300%. But overall, everybody in my workplace did not believe that Ethereum would be worth anything. And here you can see a few months later here in 2021, it was worth $4,000. So every 139 right in this area was around $3,500 within 6 months. So your stimulus check could be years worth supply of stimulus check. This is kind of what you can expect with the cryptocurrency market. And I just want to bring that in whenever we're looking at Bitcoin. We could be seeing something similar to the COVID, where we see that flash crash, a bunch of panic, maybe potential push over the 200 EMA, consolidation, and then an immediate push right back up, back to its all-time highs and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at it like Aaron, you were looking at quant. I don't know when you entered quant. Hopefully you entered before it broke this downward trend line. You could sell out and try and get a better re-entry as we may push even down to around the $79, $75 area is a possibility. Then consolidation and then breaking both these trend lines again and pushing back up. But as of right now, it looks very bearish as it has been crossing multiple trend lines right here, this black trend line and this black trend line. So moving over to compound, also looking a little bit bearish as it is breaking its trend line. And we could see that push further into the red. However, it all really depends on the news with Bitcoin. We are currently at 0.618, the usual typical retracement area. And if Bitcoin starts to consolidate or hold, we may see comp start to push upward as well. However, if it does not, we could see compound pushing back down towards this black trend line, using it as support, even as low as around the $42 area. Moving over to XYO. XYO is pretty interesting because it's making very rigorous cup and handle pattern. We could adjust this line so it's a downward trend. We want it to stay within that downward trend. However, with the bearish news, we may end up seeing this crash a little bit lower down to around 0.007. However, looking at the bigger picture, removing everything, we can see that it is a major cup and handle about to form. When you're looking at this and you do the paintbrush, say for example, you got this, there's the cup, and then this would be the handle and pushing upwards. With that, terrible lines. Removing all that, and that, going to this. Major cup and handle still forming, and what cup and handles like to do is they like to shake you out. They like to keep pushing lower and lower and lower until you just give up. And then once you give up, then it starts to increase. But it is below the 200 EMA. The RSI is looking oversold. It is looking bearish. It is potentially going to be breaking this downward trend line, as it has touched it around 4 times already. And with that break, we can start seeing a negative, more in the red. However, immediately after that, we're going to see it push right back over that line, start to push up, and once it breaks this downward trend line, then it starts to become a lot more bullish. I do want to bring in TOSHI. Also a similar pattern, cup and handle as well, and it is trying to shake people out, but we do want to see it hold above this red line being the quarter in the Gaussian fan. If that breaks, we can see it push around the 0.00033 area as the next stop for its bearish momentum. Moving over to IOTX. IOTX, I did a short on this one, but it is looking very nice as it is a very low point at the moment. Looking at this on the chart, if we do a trend line from here to here, we can see we want to see this black line being used as support. We do not want to see it break that black line, as we could see a further decrease in price. However, it's getting real tight with the 200 EMA, getting a lot of pressure. It's starting to coil up, and when it breaks that 200 EMA, we can see a massive pump like we did here back in November in 2024. Ondo looking bearish. We'd want it to hold above this black trend line that's popping out. If that does not hold, we can see it drop as low as 55, roughly 56 cents. And then moving over to GRT. GRT also not looking the best. We want to see it hold this black trend line, which it's not. So I'm kind of staying out of GRT at the moment until it maybe hits this lower point at 0.07. Moving into XRP, dollar cost average your bag, whether it goes up or down, keep stacking XRP. We may see a retracement down to the $1.97, maybe push even as low as $1.80, but those are some important ranges to be holding, and it is right around the 50, so this could potentially drop quite a bit, and we want to see it hold over this orange trend line and the 200 EMA. However, if that does not happen, depending on the news, we could see a flash crash followed by a rebound like we did back here in April with that immediate pushback and pushing over this black trend line, making it bullish once again. And lastly, XCN, the reason I made this channel, XCN is forming a massive cup and handle pattern as we've been looking at for a long time, and cup and handles like to drag it out as long as they can, shaking out all the weak hands on the way down, and we could potentially be hitting this area around 0.007 again. But the 200 EMA is now pretty strong support, as you see right here. It crossed underneath and then immediately got pushed right back up over the 200 EMA. We could see the 200 EMA act as fire and start burning this thing upwards and creating the new all-time high. However, if that does not happen, we can look at this and say that this is a downward wedge, and if it breaks that wedge, we could see a further retracement down to potentially 0.008 before getting that immediate push back up. It's going to be really quick. In my opinion, we could see this happen real fast with the news and then slow consolidation and start pushing back up over this black trend line, creating new all-time highs for XCN. That's it for today. I always recommend grass for free airdrop money, Coinbase, MEXC, KuCoin, and Roller Coin. If you guys are interested in earning free money, definitely check out the reference links below. And that's it for today. Good luck, have fun with it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.